Lack of equality does not make sense. For hundreds of years, people have recognized this, but they've still held firmly to their doctrines of inequality. Today, we're going to see an example of just that. My name is Paul Pasulka, Ivy Masters Learning Center and ivymasters.com. And today, we're going to look at Test 3, Section 1, number 38, which reads, in lines 61 to 65, the author of Passage 2 refers to a statement made in Passage 1 in order to, and so we go to 61 to 65, and what we see there is that to see one half of the human race excluded by the other half in any participation in government was a political phenomenon that, according to abstract principle, it was impossible to explain. Where is that discussed in Passage 1? It's actually discussed right in the beginning, and we're also going to see his reasoning. So in Passage 1, what we've got is Talleyrand, who is a French diplomat, and the second passage is a response, Mary Wollstonecraft, who is a political writer. So Talleyrand starts that half of the human race is excluded by the other half from any participation in government, that they are native by birth but foreign by law in the very land where they were born, and that they are property owners yet have no direct influence or representation, or all political phenomenon apparently impossible to explain based on abstract principle. So what is that saying? Half the human race, meaning women, excluded by the other half, meaning men. Men exclude women from participation in government. So women are not allowed to vote. They cannot hold public office. So women are native by birth. They're born in France, but they're treated as foreigners under the law, and that they can own property, but again, they can't vote or hold public office. And he says it's impossible to explain this. So it sounds like, at this point in the past, it sounds like Talleyrand is arguing in favor of women's rights, but then he says, but, and he gives his reason for why you should have inequality. And his reason is happiness. It's the purpose of all the institutions, all government. And his argument is that if the exclusion from public employments decreed against women, so in other words, if women are not allowed to work or maybe go to school, leads to a greater sum of mutual happiness for the two sexes, if everyone's happier because women are not allowed by law to work or go to school, then it becomes a law that all societies have been compelled to acknowledge and sanction. He's not even saying just for France, he's saying all societies. That is his argument. Everyone's happier if women are not allowed by law to work. Now the question is asking, again, lines 1 to 65, the author Passage 2 refers to that statement in order to what? And so Wollstonecraft quotes some of that statement, which we've read already. Then she says, if so, if it's impossible to explain this inequality, what does your Constitution rest on? If it does not make any sense, she's calling them out and saying, what's with your Constitution then? Answer choice A, call into question qualifications of the author of Passage 1 regarding gender issues. So calling to question his qualifications would be saying, hey, Talleyrand, what makes you qualified for to say that women cannot work or cannot go to school? You are not an expert on gender equality, or you don't have a wife, and he probably did. You don't have daughters, or he probably did. So anyway, that would be calling into question his qualifications. We don't see that in Wollstonecraft's response. Answer choice B, dispute the assertion made about women in the first sentence of Passage 1. She would not dispute the assertion made about women in the first sentence of Passage 1. First sentence of Passage 1 is saying that it does not make sense why women are excluded from public employments. And it sounds like he's arguing in favor of women's rights at that point. Answer choice C, develop her argument by highlighting what she sees as flawed reasoning in Passage 1. That looks good. And actually, if we read on a little bit more, if the abstract rights of man will bear discussion and explanation, those of woman, by a parity of reasoning will not shrink from the same test. So basically, use the same test for women as you're using for men. Though a different opinion prevails in this country built on the very arguments that you use to justify your oppression of women, prescription. So she's saying, in those lines, she's saying that your argument does not make sense. And then answer choice D, validate the concluding declarations made by the authors of passage 1 on gender roles. Wrong. Why? Because to validate would be like to give support to or to agree with, and she is definitely not doing that. She has an opposite opinion. Talleyrand's saying what women should be excluded because it makes everyone happier. And Wollstonecraft is like, no, absolutely not. So the correct answer for 38 is C. Thank you for joining us today. If you like this video, click like. You can share it with someone who has difficulty with these paired passage questions. If there's any question you'd like to see answered from any official PSAT or SAT or ACT, leave that in the comments. I'd be happy to shoot a video on it. And click subscribe so you don't miss anything. Have a great day.